Hare Krishna. So here is a question regarding Sootak. When someone dies in the house, so people say that, oh, now we are contaminated, so we cannot go to the temple, and for these many days, we are not supposed to do this, that, etc., etc. So what is the science behind Sootak? If Sootak is Vedic, then it has to have some science. Then what is the science behind Sootak? So let's try to understand this concept today. A nice question that is asked. So what is Sootak? So when someone dies in the family or someone takes birth in the family, so that family is considered to be contaminated. Oh, what is that contamination? So when someone dies in the family, what happens? There's so much of mourning, there's so much of sadness all around, so much of moroseness that is there. And the person who has died, that person's image is always there in the consciousness. Always the person is thinking about the person who has died. In fact, all the family members are thinking about him. So now, when the consciousness is completely absorbed in the person who has passed away, so what happens? We are in a state which is contaminated. Why it is contaminated? Because we are not able to focus on the spiritual activities. Therefore, such families are recommended not to go to the temple or do archana vidhi, that is worship at home. Now again there is a science. What is that? Now when I go to temple, who should be the center? Center of our consciousness. Lord should be the center of our consciousness. But what happens? Since that person has died and I am thinking about that person, my consciousness is completely absorbed thinking about the person. So when I am standing in front of the Lord, instead of taking darshan of the Lord, what's happening? I am just thinking about the person who has died. So, being inattentive while taking darshan of the Lord is an offense. It's not proper. And even while doing worship at home also, I might be offering incense and ghee lamp and flowers to the Lord, but I am completely absorbed in thinking about that person. And sometimes, people are so overwhelmed with the emotions that they start crying in the temple and while doing worship. So, since my consciousness is absorbed in thinking about a person who has died and I'm not able to focus on the spiritual activities, so we are considered contaminated. And so it is said, for certain number of days, one should not be going to the temple or doing the deity worship or archana vidhi at home. Now, how many days? This is the question. Now, depending on the categories of people, there are a set of categories called Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These are called as 4 Varnas, which are natural division of the society based on one's activities and one's qualities, not by birth. Again, I repeat, based on one's activities, that is karma, and based on one's qualities, that is guna. So based on that, these 4 categories are naturally there in the society. But so we clearly understand here that people who are Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, their attachment will be less. Whereas when it comes to Vaishyas and Shudras, the attachment will be more. So attachment to the family members, attachment to the material things which are there around. So when someone dies in the family, for Brahmanas to come out of it is very easy. Why? Because they have daily spiritual practice, even Kshatriyas for that matter. But Vaishyas and Shudras, they have a lot of attachment and along with that less spiritual practice, because of which for them to come out of such traumatic situation is difficult. That's why Brahmanas, they follow around 10 to 12 days of Sootak. Kshatriyas a little bit more, Vaishyas a little bit more, and for Shudras it is 30 days. 30 days of Sootak. So it's very important to note that since we are not able to focus on the Lord and since we are absorbed in thinking about the person, it is recommended in the Shastra that it's better not to do Archana Vidhi at that time. That is deity worship at that time, till the person comes out of that traumatic situation. And once the person comes out, he can resume doing Archana Vidhi. Now here is a question, can I read Bhagavad Gita and chant the holy names of the Lord? Yes, this we can do. This cannot be stopped. Because this is Bhagavata Vidhi. So Bhagavata Vidhi, that is Shravanam Kirtanam, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and reading Bhagavad Gita and understanding Bhagavad Gita and meditating on that is allowed. Because there is no offense when it comes to all this. So Archana Vidhi is deity worship and Bhagavata Vidhi is Shravanam Kirtanam, that is reading and hearing about the glories of the Lord. So Archana Vidhi has to be paused for some time, but Bhagavata Vidhi can be continued. I hope this answers your question and clarifies all the doubts around this one word Sootak. Hare Krishna.